something's wrong with Aurora. Marcus paced Dr. Patel's lab, watching his crystalline friend pulse with strange, erratic patterns. 3 days had passed since their arrival at the colony, and Aurora's condition had gotten steadily worse. Dr. Patel barely looked up from her instruments. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept much. "Wrong isn't the word I'd use," she muttered. "Fascinating, maybe. Terrifying, definitely." Aurora floated in the center of the lab, her usual soft blue glow now shot through with streaks of gold and white. Her light patterns had become chaotic, nothing like the clear communications Marcus had grown used to. What's happening to her? Marcus stopped pacing long enough to press his hand against the containment field surrounding Aurora. The energy made his skin tingle. "She's not dying, if that's what you're worried about." Dr. Patel finally looked up. "She's changing. Remember how I said she carried the memories of her entire species? It's more than that. She carries their essence, their very being." A burst of light from Aurora filled the lab, bright enough to make them shield their eyes. When it faded, Marcus saw new crystalline formations growing from her surface, like branches made of light. "She's not just the last of her kind," Dr. Patel continued, excitement creeping into her tired voice. "She's becoming all of them. A living Genesis chamber." Marcus felt Aurora's presence touch his mind, stronger than ever before. Images flooded his consciousness. Stars being born, galaxies spinning, and crystal beings dancing through it all, guiding, nurturing, protecting. The genetic memory, he gasped as understanding hit him. It's not just information. It's a template. She's going to be able to bring them back. The lab's warning systems suddenly blared to life. Dr. Patel rushed to her screens. "The Coalition ship's in orbit. They're scanning us with everything they've got. These energy readings, they must have detected the change." "How?" "Your containment field can't block everything anymore." She pointed to her readings. "Her power levels are off the charts. Marcus, she's putting out as much energy as a small star." Aurora's lights pulsed rapidly, and both humans clutched their heads as her thoughts crashed into them. "The change comes too fast. I can't control. Help hurts." Marcus didn't think. He stepped through the containment field despite Dr. Patel's shout of warning. Energy crackled around him, making his hair stand on end, but he kept moving until he reached Aurora. "I'm here," he said through gritted teeth. "What do you need?" "Anchor." Aurora's thoughts came clearer now. "Humans, different. Your minds resonate with us. Always did. Why we chose to help humanity first, so long ago." Marcus placed both hands on Aurora's crystalline surface. The energy flow became more focused, less chaotic. Dr. Patel's instruments stopped their frantic beeping. "That's incredible," she whispered. "You're stabilizing her somehow. Your brainwaves are synchronizing with her energy patterns." Before Marcus could respond, the colony's general alarm began to sound. A voice came over the speakers. "Coalition forces are powering weapons. Multiple ships dropping from orbit. They're coming for her." Marcus kept his hands on Aurora, feeling her fear mix with determination. "How long?" he asked Dr. Patel. "How long until whatever's happening to her is complete?" "Hours, maybe less." "But Marcus," she hesitated. "Staying connected to her like this, the energy could kill you." He thought of the crystal beings in Aurora's memories, of their wisdom and power, of their murder by those who feared what they didn't understand. "Some things are worth dying for," he said quietly. Aurora's lights swirled with gratitude and concern, but there was something else now, a growing sense of power and purpose. The change was accelerating, and time was running out. The laboratory exploded with light. When it faded, Marcus found himself floating beside Aurora, his body wrapped in a soft blue glow that matched hers. The pain was gone, replaced by a sense of power he couldn't begin to describe. What happened to me? He looked at his hands, now semi-transparent and crackling with energy. You've become like me. Aurora's thoughts came clearer than ever. A bridge between matter and energy, the first in 10,000 years. Dr. Patel stared at them both, her scientific detachment forgotten in pure wonder. Incredible. Your human consciousness provided the perfect template for. The lab door exploded inward. Coalition forces poured through, led by the Zentari captain from the outpost. His scales paled at the sight of Marcus's transformation. What have you done? The Zentari growled. You've let them corrupt you. Marcus felt Aurora's knowledge flow through him. He saw the galaxy's stars, felt their rhythms, and understood the terrible truth. No, he said, you're the ones who corrupted everything. The stars are dying. Through their shared vision, Marcus and Aurora projected what they saw. The lab filled with a holographic display of the galaxy. Everywhere, stars flickered unstably, their natural cycles disrupted by the absence of the Star Weaver's guidance. Without Aurora's people maintaining the stellar networks, the galaxy's stars are falling into chaos, Marcus explained. Your genocide didn't just kill innocent beings, it broke the systems they spent millions of years building. Lies. The Zentari raised his weapon, but hesitated when Marcus's glow brightened. Dr. Patel stepped forward, holding up her instruments. It's true. Look at the data. Stellar instability has increased by 47% since the Star Weavers were destroyed. In another century, stars will begin going supernova. Billions will die. The coalition forces shifted uneasily. One of the pulsar commandos spoke up. Captain, our own scientists have reported similar findings. We thought it was natural variation, but there's still time, Aurora projected, her thoughts now strong enough for everyone to hear. We can restore the balance, but only if you let us. The lab's computer suddenly came to life, displaying urgent warnings. Dr. Patel rushed to check them. Multiple stellar events detected, she reported, face pale. The nearest star, it's beginning to destabilize. Through their link, Marcus and Aurora saw it clearly. The colony's sun was starting to flutter, its magnetic fields twisting in dangerous patterns. Soon solar flares would begin, then worse. You have a choice, Marcus told the coalition forces. You can keep fighting us and watch everything you know burn, or you can help us save everyone. The Zentari captain's weapon wavered. In his species' history, there had never been a recorded case of a Zentari backing down from a fight. But there had never been stakes like this before. The human speaks truth, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see a pulsar elder enter the lab, her ancient eyes taking in the scene. Our pride doomed us all, but perhaps human humility can save us. One by one, the coalition forces lowered their weapons. The Zentari captain was the last, his scales dark with shame. What must we do? Marcus felt Aurora's joy and determination flow through him. Together, they looked toward the troubled star that warmed this human colony. First, they said in unison, "We show you what your ancestors forgot." The true power of cooperation between matter and energy. Between all species. They rose into the air, their combined glow filling the lab with hope. It was time to rebuild what fear had destroyed and create something even greater in its place. The human colony on Epsilon 9 wasn't much to look at. Built into the side of a mountain, most of its structures were underground, safe from the planet's frequent dust storms. But to Marcus and Aurora, after 3 days of running, it looked like paradise. Are you sure about this? Marcus asked as he guided the rusty Fortune toward the hidden landing pad. Humans aren't exactly known for being welcoming to unusual visitors. Aurora's lights flickered with what he'd learned was amusement. You welcomed me. I'm probably not the best example of typical human behavior, Marcus muttered, but landed the ship anyway. They were met at the airlock by a woman in a white lab coat, her dark hair streaked with premature gray. Her eyes widened at the sight of Aurora, but there was excitement rather than fear in her expression. Fascinating, she breathed. A genuine energy crystalline entity. I'm Dr. Sarah Patel, xenobiologist. When you requested emergency landing and mentioned your passenger, I didn't dare hope. She caught herself and straightened. Sorry. Professional excitement. Please come with me quickly. The dust storm will hit in 10 minutes. They followed her through curved tunnels lit by soft blue lights. Marcus noticed how similar they were to Aurora's own glow. The few colonists they passed stared, but didn't run or scream. A good sign. Dr. Patel led them to a large laboratory filled with humming equipment. I studied energy-based life forms for 20 years, she explained, already calibrating her instruments. Your species was thought extinct. May I? Aurora drifted forward, her lights dancing in a pattern that showed trust. Dr. Patel's instruments came to life, displaying complex readings. This is impossible, she whispered after a few minutes. Your energy signature, it's perfectly matched to the resonance frequency of stellar cores. And there's something else. She looked up sharply. You're changing. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared through the colony. A voice echoed through hidden speakers. 3 unidentified ships entering orbit. They're running military signatures. They found us, Marcus growled, reaching for his weapon. But Dr. Patel was already moving, hitting buttons on a control panel. Into the testing chamber, she ordered, pointing to a reinforced room. Its walls are designed to block all energy signatures. They won't be able to detect you there. They barely made it inside before the lab door burst open. 3 Zentari warriors stormed in, weapons raised. Through the chamber's one-way glass, Marcus watched Dr. Patel face them calmly. This is a human research facility, she said coldly. You have no authority here. We track dangerous fugitive, the lead Zentari snarled. Our sensors show energy signature matching target. Of course they do. Dr. Patel gestured to her lab. I study energy-based life forms. Everything in here would match those signatures. Would you like to explain to the Earth Alliance why you're threatening a leading researcher in their territory? The Zentari hesitated. Humans weren't the strongest or most advanced species in the galaxy, but they were notorious for 3 things. Their unpredictability, their tendency to hold grudges, and their absolute refusal to back down when threatened. You're hiding something, the Zentari leader insisted, but Marcus could hear the uncertainty in his voice. I'm hiding about 50 classified research projects, Dr. Patel replied smoothly. Now, unless you have proper authorization from the Alliance Science Council, I'll have to ask you to leave. Preferably before I call in our defense fleet. The Zentari left, but everyone knew they wouldn't go far. Still, as Marcus watched Dr. Patel immediately begin setting up more complex equipment, he realized they'd found something even more valuable than a hiding place. They'd found an ally who might just help them unlock the truth about Aurora's transformation. Marcus Chen wiped the condensation from the grimy viewport of Outpost 47. The artificial atmosphere outside created constant fog against the reinforced glass, but he needed to see clearly tonight. Something wasn't right on the trading station's outer deck. 3 ships had docked in the past hour. Sleek vessels with weapons that weren't quite hidden well enough under their fancy hulls. Their crews moved with too much purpose for regular traders, and they all carried military-grade scanning equipment. They were hunting something. Marcus had spent enough years as a mercenary to recognize a hunt when he saw one. He grabbed his worn jacket and the ancient pistol he'd modified with electromagnetic rounds. Better to have it and not need it, he thought. The outpost corridors were unusually empty. The normal buzz of traders, smugglers, and travelers had gone quiet, like animals sensing a storm. As he approached the outer deck, he heard the first sounds of conflict, the high-pitched whine of energy weapons, and a strange musical hum he'd never heard before. The door to the outer deck was locked. Marcus smiled. Locks had stopped being a problem for him years ago. 30 seconds later, he was through. The scene before him stopped him cold. 3 groups of armed aliens. He recognized Zentari warriors and pulsar commandos among them, had surrounded something that glowed with soft blue light. The creature they hunted looked like living crystal, floating 3 feet off the deck. It pulsed with patterns of light that seemed almost like words. Final warning, a Zentari captain growled in common speech. Surrender for termination, Starweaver. Your kind was sentenced to extinction for the good of the galaxy. The crystal being's lights flickered faster, a desperate pattern that made Marcus think of a cornered animal. One of the pulsar commandos raised his weapon. Marcus didn't think. Maybe that was the human in him, acting before his brain could tell him how stupid this was. He fired 3 rounds in quick succession. The electromagnetic pulses didn't kill the commando, but they sure messed up his weapon and the fancied armor they all wore. What the Zentari captain spun around. Human, this is not your concern. Marcus moved to stand between them and the crystal being. Well, I'm making it my concern. 3 armed groups against 1 person. Those odds don't sit right with me. Person? A harsh laugh. You don't know what that thing is. What it can do. Step aside, human. The crystal being's lights changed pattern. Somehow, Marcus felt meaning in them. Not words exactly, but feelings. Fear, hope, gratitude. Here's the thing, Marcus said, keeping his weapon ready. I don't need to know what they are. I can see well enough what you are. Bullies with big guns who like those odds real well. So how about we change those odds? He pulled out a small device from his pocket, a modified emergency beacon. 1 press, and every pirate, mercenary, and troublemaker on this station gets an alert about armed folks causing problems. Folks with nice ships and nicer equipment. Be a shame if something happened to those ships while you're up here playing executioner. The Zentari captain's face scales darkened with rage. You dare. I'm human. We dare a lot of stupid things. It's kind of our specialty. Marcus's finger hovered over the beacon. So what's it going to be? The crystal being moved closer to Marcus, its light patterns steadier now. The hunting parties looked at each other, weapons still raised but uncertainty clear in their postures. Marcus smiled. Sometimes you just had to bluff with whatever cards you had. And humans, he'd learned long ago, played a mean game of bluff. Marcus's whole body burned. It felt like every cell was filled with lightning, but he refused to let go of Aurora. Through their connection, he could feel her transformation accelerating, her power growing beyond anything he'd imagined. Dr. Patel worked frantically at her instruments, dividing her attention between monitoring Aurora's metamorphosis and Marcus's vital signs. Your brain activity is off the charts, she called out. No other species could survive this level of energy exposure. There's something unique about human consciousness. Less science, Marcus managed through clenched teeth, more helping. The colony shook as the first explosions hit the surface. Coalition forces had begun their attack, determined to stop what was happening in the lab. Through the pain, Marcus felt Aurora's thoughts merge more clearly with his own. Not just images now, but understanding. He saw the truth of what made humans different. Our minds, he gasped, sharing the revelation with Dr. Patel. They're quantum flexible. Other species' brains work like classical computers, but ours, we dream, we imagine, we make impossible leaps of logic. Aurora's lights pulsed in agreement, her crystalline form now almost too bright to look at. More crystal formations grew from her surface, each one humming with power. That's why we could help them maintain the stars, Marcus continued, the knowledge flowing through him. Our consciousness naturally syncs with their energy patterns. We're natural bridges between matter and energy. Another explosion, closer this time. The lab's reinforced walls groaned under the assault. Dr. Patel rushed to them with a neural monitor. "The energy isn't killing you," she said in amazement. "Your brain is adapting to it, evolving in real time." Through their link, Aurora showed Marcus more. Ancient humans working alongside Starweavers, their unique minds helping to stabilize stellar energies. The partnership had been meant to grow, to spread, until fear and prejudice destroyed it all. The lab door burst open. Colony security officers rushed in. "We need to evacuate now," their leader shouted. "The coalition forces have breached the outer defenses." "We can't move them," Dr. Patel protested, gesturing at Marcus and Aurora. "The process isn't complete." Marcus felt Aurora's fear spike, but not for herself. "Marcus," her thoughts came urgently. "You must let go. The energy, too much." "Not happening," he replied out loud, tightening his grip despite the pain. "Humans are stubborn, remember. It's our best quality." Through their connection, he felt her gratitude and her decision. Aurora's light suddenly dimmed, pulling back from him, trying to break their link to save him. But Marcus had seen enough through their bond to know what would happen if she tried to complete the transformation alone. The power would scatter, explosive and deadly. Everything would be lost. He pushed back, forcing the connection to stay open. Together, he insisted. The old way. Human and Starweaver, like it was meant to be. Aurora's resistance faltered. In that moment, Marcus felt something new through their link. Hope. Not just hers, but the collected hope of her entire species, preserved in her living memory. The coalition forces were almost there. They could hear weapons fire in the corridor outside. But none of it mattered now. The change was reaching its peak. Dr. Patel's instruments screamed warnings as energy levels spiked beyond their ability to measure. The lights in the lab flickered and died, leaving only Aurora's radiance to illuminate their faces. "It's happening," Dr. Patel whispered. "Whatever you two are becoming, it's happening now." Marcus smiled through the pain. Maybe this was why humans were so good at doing the impossible. They never stopped to think about whether they should try. The colony's sun blazed in space before them, its surface writhing with unstable energy. Marcus and Aurora floated side by side, their combined glow a beacon against the darkness. Through the viewport of the observation deck, the coalition forces and Dr. Patel watched in tense silence. "Are you ready?" Aurora's thoughts touched Marcus's mind gently. "What we're about to do, no human in Starweaver have attempted this since the ancient times." Marcus smiled, his now crystalline form shimmering. "Ready as I'll ever be to help stabilize a star. Just another Tuesday, right?" They reached out together, their energies merging. Marcus felt the star's power, raw, primal, beautiful. But he also felt its pain, the chaotic patterns that threatened to tear it apart. Like tuning an instrument, Aurora guided him. "Feel the resonance." Marcus let his human consciousness expand, finding the quantum patterns Aurora had shown him. Where her energy provided the structure, his mind created the connections, bridging the gaps between matter and energy. The star's surface began to calm. Solar flares reduced, magnetic fields straightened, and the core's fusion settled into a stable rhythm. "Impossible," the Zentari captain whispered, watching his instruments. "They're actually doing it." Dr. Patel's voice crackled over their comms. "The star's output is stabilizing, all readings returning to normal parameters." But Marcus and Aurora weren't finished. Through their shared consciousness, they began to seed the star's outer layers with tiny crystals, new star wavers born from Aurora's genetic memory and stabilized by Marcus's human resonance. Life finds a way, Marcus thought, remembering an old Earth movie quote. Even stellar life. The observation deck erupted in gasps as the first new star weaver emerged from the star's corona. Then another and another, each one glowing with the same blue light as Aurora, but carrying traces of golden energy that marked their human influence. The Pulsar Elder stepped forward, her ancient eyes wet with tears. "The prophecy," she said softly. "When the stars dimmed, a new harmony would emerge. Not from power or pride, but from understanding between the oldest and the youngest races." Marcus and Aurora returned to the observation deck, their glow dimming to comfortable levels. The new star weavers followed, curious and eager to learn. "This is just the beginning," Aurora projected to all present. "There are billions of stars in need of care. But this time, we won't work alone." Marcus nodded. Humans and star weavers working together as we were meant to, and any other species willing to learn. The Zentari captain stepped forward and, in an unprecedented gesture, knelt before them. "The Coalition withdraws all actions against the Star Weavers," he declared formally. "And we humbly request, to learn." "The age of fear is over," Marcus said, reaching out with a crystalline hand to help the captain up. "Now we build something better. Together." Dr. Patel was already talking excitedly with two of the new Star Weavers, her scientific curiosity fully engaged. "Think of what we could learn. The applications for sustainable energy alone." Aurora's lights danced with amusement. "Humans," she commented privately to Marcus. "Always so eager to learn, to grow, to change. That's why you chose us, isn't it?" Marcus watched as more ships arrived, news of what had happened spreading quickly across the galaxy. "Not because we were the strongest or smartest, but because you were the most willing to believe in impossible things," Aurora finished, "and make them possible." Above them, the star shone steadily, its light a promise of new beginnings. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would help lead the way, not through force or fear, but through the simple power of reaching out to understand what others feared to touch. Marcus smiled. It was a very human way to save the galaxy. Marcus's ship, the Rusty Fortune, wasn't much to look at. The cargo hold had more patches than original hull, and the life support system made strange noises that sounded like a dying cat. But right now, it was the safest place in this sector of space for his unusual passenger. The crystal being, Aurora, as he'd started calling her after the way her lights danced like Earth's northern lights, floated in the center of his small living quarters. Her light patterns had been quiet since their escape from the outpost 2 days ago. "You know," Marcus said, checking the ship's sensors for the 3rd time in an hour, "sooner or later we should talk about why those folks wanted you dead so badly." Aurora's lights shifted, forming complex patterns that rippled through her crystalline form. Marcus had been getting better at reading them. This pattern spoke of sadness, of old wounds. Suddenly, the air around him tingled, and a voice formed directly in his mind. Not words exactly, but images and feelings that his brain translated into understanding. We were the Star Weavers, the voice that was a voice said. We helped young races reach for the stars. Images flooded Marcus's mind. Crystal beings like Aurora, working in harmony with various alien species, teaching them to harness the power of suns and build great machines. He saw vast solar arrays and energy collectors that couldn't exist with current technology. We were trusted, Aurora continued, honored until the accident. A new image came, a younger crystal being, excited to help a developing civilization, reaching out to touch their sun. Something went wrong. The star pulsed, grew unstable. The crystal being tried to fix it, but Marcus watched in horror as the sun exploded, taking an entire solar system with it. One mistake, Aurora's lights dimmed. One of our youngest made one mistake, but fear spreads faster than understanding. The next images made Marcus's hands clench into fists. He saw crystal beings hunted down, shattered, their remains scattered across space. The galaxy's races had turned on them, declaring them too dangerous to exist. "How many of you are left?" Marcus asked softly. Aurora's lights pulsed once, dimly. "You see all that remains." Marcus sat heavily in his pilot's chair. "That's why you can suddenly talk to me like this, isn't it? You're carrying something from your people. Memories, knowledge, everything," Aurora confirmed. "I am the last archive. All that we were, all that we knew, it lives in me." A warning light flashed on the ship's console. Long-range sensors had picked up 3 vessels entering the system, the same ships from the outpost. "They found us," Marcus muttered, already plotting a new course. "But I don't understand. Your people are already gone. Why are they still hunting you?" Aurora's lights swirled with a pattern he hadn't seen before, something between fear and determination. "Because they know what I carry. They fear we might return." And her lights flickered hesitantly. "They fear what they did might have doomed them all." "What do you mean?" "The stars, Marcus. We didn't just study them. We helped maintain them, guide their energies. Without us, her lights dimmed to almost nothing. The galaxy's stars are growing unstable, but their pride won't let them admit they were wrong." Marcus looked at his screens at the approaching ships, then back at Aurora. A plan was forming in his mind. It was probably stupid, but then humans were good at stupid plans that somehow worked. "Well," he said with a grim smile, "let's show them exactly how wrong they were."